They called him the little wizard La Brujita, a name both gentle and mysterious, like the man himself, a possessor of magic yet unable to save himself from the curse of fate. In June 2002, Sapporo, Japan, white and blue lights shone down on the smooth grass. On the stands, Argentinians in blue and white striped jerseys held their breath. Juan Sebastián Verón stood there, hands on hips, dark eyes gazing up at the big screen. The cold number 10 stood stark. England was leading. Traitor, the curses echoed. Many fans forgot that he was once called a genius. They forgot that just months earlier, Manchester United had broken the transfer record in the land of fog to bring his magic to Old Trafford. They forgot everything, leaving only 3 etched words: Veron, traitor, failure. But truly, whom had he betrayed? Or was it football that betrayed him? La Plata, late 1970s, when the city still smelled of fresh cement and red dust from construction sites. In a poor neighborhood, there was a boy with deep black eyes, playing barefoot football on scorching asphalt every day. They called him the son of the wizard. Ramon Veron, also known as La Bruja, was a living legend of Estudiantes, a symbol and pride of all La Plata. In 1968, he scored against Manchester United in the Intercontinental Cup final, helping Estudiantes defeat the Red Devils and claim the world title. Those were the days the whole city celebrated. Trucks carrying fans paraded through the streets, painting La Bruja's name on church walls as if he were a saint. Juan Sebastián grew up in that enormous shadow. Whenever his father walked the streets, people bowed in greeting. Whenever he stepped onto the school football pitch, friends cheered, "That's the wizard's son." But Veron wasn't afraid. On the contrary, he yearned to be like his father. His father taught him how to place the sole of his foot on the ball lightly, as if dusting a mirror. Taught him to observe opponents, not their feet, but their shoulders and hips, for that revealed their true intentions. Taught him to make long passes, not just to pass, but to tear space apart. In the misty La Plata afternoons, father and son sat in the quiet stands of Estudiantes Stadium. La Bruja pointed to the grass, saying in a voice hoarse with tobacco, "Do you see, son? The pitch is your own map. Others see green grass, but you must see paths of light. A great wizard is one who sees what others cannot." The young Veron nodded. At that time, he didn't know the lesson was not just for football, but a prophecy for his entire life. A wizard never lives like an ordinary man, and sometimes magic too great makes people fear, even despise. In 1996, Geneva welcomed Veron with a misty, rainy afternoon. As the plane landed, the 21-year-old little wizard looked through the fogged window, seeing the silver-gray Ligurian Sea churning. Sampdoria paid €6 million to bring him to Luigi Ferrari's, a hefty sum for an Argentine lad just leaving home for Europe. On his debut day, Veron walked into the dressing room, where Roberto Mancini was pulling on socks. Mihailovic sat cross-legged, puffing smoke. The room fell silent as the little wizard set his sports bag on the floor. They didn't yet know who he was, but after a few training sessions, the team knew. This was someone different. In his first match, Veron received the ball in midfield, looked up, spun, and swung his left foot, sending a pass that tore through Racing's defense, landing exactly where the striker needed it. Sampdoria won no titles in Veron's 2 seasons there, but Serie A began to know La Brujita, the little wizard with long tied-back hair, a proud hooked nose, and brown eyes always half-closed, as if chanting a spell. Then Parma came calling. €18 million brought Veron to the small city bathed in gold and silver. Serie A was then the pinnacle of world football, and Parma was a small kingdom with Buffon, Thuram, Cannavaro, Crespo. They called that lineup the Mafia Squad, beautiful and dangerous like a mafia gang. In the 90s, Veron was the brain. In the 1999 UEFA Cup final, Marseille fell 0-3, with Veron dominating midfield, weaving passes, creating chances as if the match was his alone. When the referee blew the final whistle, Parma fans unfurled banners across the stands. "Thank you, little wizard. Your magic is our glory." In the summer of 1999, Lazio broke the transfer record with €30 million to bring Veron to Rome. In a city of ancient streets filled with the scent of bitter coffee and Vespa smoke, the little wizard stepped into the Olimpico and instantly became the maestro. In 2000, Lazio won their first Scudetto in 24 years. Veron scored 8 goals, assisted 11 times, captivating all of Serie A. They compared him to the greatest football sorcerers, placing him alongside Zidane, Rivaldo, Rui Costa. But Veron had something they didn't: a wizard's aura. The press wrote, "Veron doesn't need speed. He has space, and no one can invade a wizard's space." But darkness silently followed him, the price every wizard must pay, and it awaited him across the Atlantic where the land of fog was ready to swallow all magic. In the summer of 2001, Manchester was damp as usual, with heavy gray clouds drifting slowly across the sky. Sir Alex Ferguson stepped forward, eyes full of pride. Behind him, Juan Sebastián Verón strode, long hair neatly tied, black suit impeccable, eyes gleaming. Manchester United spent £28 million, breaking the transfer record in the land of fog, to bring the little wizard to conduct the Red Kingdom. At the press conference, Sir Alex looked into the camera, voice firm. "We have one of the world's finest midfielders." And he wasn't wrong. In the first match against Blackburn, Veron passed with one touch, as if light awaited at Old Trafford. During training, Ryan Giggs exclaimed, "God, he sees everything before it happens." In September 2001, Veron scored against Everton, a long pass like a silver arrow slicing through the wind, landing precisely at the striker's feet. The English press dubbed him the Little Wizard. It felt as though magic had found a new temple, but the Premier League was not Serie A. This was not a land for wizards, but an arena for steel warriors. When winter came, cold rain lashing his face, Veron began to lose his rhythm. In Italy, he had time to place the ball, look up, and paint rainbows with long passes. In England, the moment he touched the ball, Patrick Vieira charged. Roy Keane roared from his chest. He grew weary, his strength unable to adapt. The faster the game, the less room there was for magic. Fans began to mock. "He's a wizard in La Plata, but here just a lost traveler." Sir Alex began to hesitate. He tried pairing Veron with Scholes, but the two maestros couldn't harmonize. Scholes favored speed and shooting. Veron preferred pausing, finessing, opening new paths. In the dressing room after a loss to Middlesbrough, Roy Keane shouted in Veron's face, "What are you here for? A stroll?" Veron didn't reply, just lowered his head, removed his ankle tape, stared at his mud-soaked Adidas Predators, wondering where his magic had gone. But the real blow came not from Keane, not from the English press, but from his homeland, half a world away, where he thought they would always love him like a son returning from European glory. On June 7, 2002, in the cold, fluorescent white-blue light of Sapporo Dome, Veron stepped onto the pitch, captain's armband around his left arm. Argentina faced England, a match heavy with historical enmity, from the Falklands War to Maradona's revenge in 1986. The people of the Tango Nation believed that if Veron played with his magic, they would crush the English. But football is not a stage. As if foretold, that match saw Veron as a man who had lost his guiding light. In the 44th minute, Owen was fouled in the penalty area. David Beckham stepped up to the penalty spot, striking the net. The camera immediately turned to Veron, standing still, hands on knees, panting, eyes dimly fixed on the scoreboard. The second half began, and in the 59th minute, Coach Bielsa looked to the bench, then at Veron, and waved him off. Veron trudged off the pitch, head down, passing Bielsa without a glance. In Argentina, millions were glued to their TVs. When they saw number 11 leave the field, curses erupted. "Traitor!" The next morning, Buenos Aires papers published a photo of Veron with his head bowed, with a blazing red headline, "The Betrayer." They accused him of not wanting to eliminate England because he played for Manchester United. They forgot he had once turned down a lucrative contract to stay at Lazio and fight for the Scudetto. They forgot he had wept in Estudiantes colors when he first wore the albiceleste. They forgot everything, leaving only the fury of a wounded nation. In 2006, as his European years drew to a close, Veron sat alone in his Milan apartment, looking through the window at Piazza Duomo. He had loved this life, luxurious, scented with perfume, vibrant like a crimson tango. But looking deep within, he saw La Plata, the dusty red street where young Veron played barefoot, and Estudiantes, where all his magic began. He decided to return, not to retire, not to chase a final paycheck, but to do the one thing he hadn't, lead Estudiantes to glory, as his father had. When Veron stepped off the plane in Buenos Aires, thousands of Estudiantes fans were waiting. They shouted his name, holding up an old banner with Veron's image and the words, "Welcome home, little wizard." In 2009, Estudiantes reached the Copa Libertadores final against Cruzeiro. The first leg ended in a scoreless draw. In the return leg, Veron, wearing the captain's armband, led his teammates onto the Mineirão pitch amid a sea of roaring Brazilian fans. In the 72nd minute, with the score tied at 1-1, Estudiantes won a corner. Veron ran to the corner, the Brazilian night breeze tousling his now silver-streaked hair. He placed the ball, took 3 steps back, and swung his right foot. The ball curled like an arrow, soaring over Cruzeiro's defense to find Gaston Fernandez's head. The goal sealed a 2-1 victory. Estudiantes became South American champions after 39 years. When the final whistle blew, Veron knelt, clutching the grass, tears streaming. In the stands, an elderly fan in a red and white Estudiantes shirt held up a trembling sign. La Bruja, 1968, La Brujita, 2009. Magic passed from father to son. That night, La Plata didn't sleep. The little wizard became a living saint. They erected his statue outside Estadio Jorge Luis Hirschi, calling him the last wizard. But Veron didn't stop. He kept playing, kept leading Estudiantes through many seasons. He became the club's president, the architect of a new stadium, signing guarantees for young players, frantically securing bank loans to keep the club alive during Argentina's economic crisis. On the day he announced his retirement, Estudiantes Stadium hung a massive banner. "A wizard never dies. Your magic will live with us forever." Veron rediscovered his magic where it was born, where no one called him a traitor. There he was not the abandoned little wizard, but La Plata's greatest son. Yet even as a legend, the curse of 2002 lingered, like a shadow forever trailing a lamp's light. That was the final price of a wizard. Magic is never free. When Veron hung up his boots for the last time, in the summer of 2017, he was 42. His farewell match was not a grand spectacle at San Siro or Santiago Bernabeu. It was a golden, sunlit afternoon in La Plata. The breeze lifted the hem of his number 11 jersey. Estudiantes stands were blanketed with red and white banners, chanting one name, Brujita, Brujita. He walked slowly around the pitch, raising his hand to each stand, eyes sparkling amid his salt and pepper hair. No longer the haunting wizard of Serie A, no longer under the Premier League's dazzling lights, only Veron remained. A man, a son of La Plata, who had endured all the glory and tragedy football could bestow. They called him a traitor, but those who cursed him in 2002 now stood to applaud as he left the pitch. Time may fade all hatred, but it cannot erase true magic. Veron's magic, though once lost, was strong enough to force a nation to remember him, one way or another. Some wizards are born to win, some are born to be loved. But the little wizard Veron was born to endure. For no matter how great the magic, it couldn't save him from its own curse. Today, Serie A fans still tear up when speaking of his passes that tore through defenses. Estudiantes fans bow to the captain who led them to South American glory after nearly 40 years. As for Argentine fans, they remain divided. Half call him a traitor, half call him a master. But perhaps Veron doesn't need their forgiveness. For deep down he knows, true magic is not for being loved, but for changing the game, a club, history. And he did it. He played the football of Maradona, mentored Messi, crafted passes only a genius could draw. He transformed Estudiantes from an ordinary team into a South American football kingdom. Veron's magic never died. It only returned to where it was born, La Plata.